Okay, welcome back to the show. I am here with Jim Decicco, oldest brother, Jimmy Decicco, Jim, James, all the
Sir
names,
James, that's
Sir
right.
James. He is the oldest brother and CEO of SuperCoffee, or Kitu Super Coffee. Is that how you say it? Kitu?
Kitu Life.
Kitu. Okay, we're gonna get into that because I want to know more about that. But do you want to give our listeners just a little bit of an intro about you, who you are, a little bit of your background?
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm the oldest of three brothers. We all played sports in college, and 5 years ago now, I can't believe it's been 5 years. My youngest brother Jordan was tired. He was falling asleep in class. He was a freshman basketball player, and he started making his own coffee because his school store only sold like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. And that's where the idea of super coffee came about. He didn't want to drink the stuff that had too much sugar, unnecessary calories, didn't really give him energy. And from that point on, he was like, "Whoa, this is something that works for me." Super coffee was basically organic coffee with protein and MCT oil, just healthy fats for fuel. I'm sure your listeners know what that's all about. And it worked for him. He called me up and said, "Hey, man, I'm dropping out of school to start this coffee company." And I was crazy enough to join him, and our middle brother Jake joined us as well. And 5 years later, here we
Wow, that's that's awesome.
are.
I want to dive a little bit deeper into that though, but yeah, I mean, I can't believe it's been 5 years too. I mean, I guess I started using your guys' product probably like a year ago. I think it has been, and I use it every. I mean, I talked about this on the podcast. I use it every morning. The creamer, the what's my favorite one is the oh my gosh, now I'm blanking on the name. The
Sweet cream.
Yes, sweet cream. Why am I blanking? Yes. Yes. Is that your favorite too?
Sweet cream is my favorite. I love sweet
Yeah.
cream.
That's like my literally I have it every single day. So I want to dive into the story on Super Coffee as well a little bit deeper, but I want to dive into your story a little bit. So
Perfect.
kind of tell us like, obviously you went to the same college as my dad, Colgate, shout out, and my sister.
Let's go, Gate.
But yeah, tell us a little bit about your kind of sports experience. Maybe like a little bit of a dive into like your nutrition throughout the years, and like if you did or if you do follow a lower carb keto diet, or if you did, or what you kind of experimented with or found for yourself.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I wish I knew back then what I know now about nutrition. Growing up, my brothers and I were super close in age. Today, I'm 27, Jake's 26, and Jordan's 25, and we all played sports, super competitive. We played everything there was: baseball, basketball, football, soccer, you name it. We were playing it growing up as kids, and we were fine students in school, but not great. And we realized we were better athletes than we were students, and we realized we could use sports to get us into schools that we wouldn't have otherwise gotten into. So I used football to get into Colgate University, and I played football at Colgate. I became captain of the team there, where I studied philosophy and I minored in writing. So got a liberal arts degree by using football to get there. And in high school I was a quarterback, but when I got to Colgate, I played a little bit of everything on offense. I was a running back. I was a wide receiver. I returned kicks. I did a little bit of everything on the football team. And with that in mind, I was kind of small. I was like 6 feet tall, 180 pounds. And to be a college running back, you take a real beating. So I had to gain weight. And the only way I could gain weight was eating whatever I could, everything in sight. So peanut butter jelly sandwiches for breakfast. I was drinking half a gallon of chocolate milk before bed. I was eating pizza and sandwiches and pasta and I mean you name it. And granted, I mean we were working out a lot, lifting a lot of weights, doing a lot of sprints, all kinds of things. So I was burning the calories, but I had no regard for what was going into my body. I remember on multiple nights a week, I would eat like a full box of cinnamon toast crunch cereal with whole milk, just like disgusting stuff. Everything I ate was fried, and it was delicious. Don't get me wrong, but I had no concept of what was good for me, what was bad for me. I didn't really understand the difference between carbs and fat and protein, processed stuff, added sugars. I had no idea about the dangers of added sugars. Thankfully, I never was into soda. Like my parents raised us pretty health conscious about soda and processed
Hmm.
things, added sugars. So fast forward, graduate from Colgate, and we get into why super coffee was effective for us, and it was things like MCT oil, healthy fat for fuel, and we started tinkering with this low carb idea of cutting out sugars and adding healthy fats into our diet. Bulletproof coffee was something that we were playing with back then, with the butter and the MCT oil, and that was really the only thing that like we felt, it was literally a visceral feeling of like, holy shit, I put butter in my coffee and it makes me feel like I'm on crack. It's crazy. Uh, and we thought that there was something there. So we started cutting out bread. We started cutting out sugar from our diet. We ate a lot more fat. So a lot of dairy, whole fat yogurt, cheese, a lot of like deli meats and things like that. And I felt really good. And there were occasionally I'll do like 2 weeks of keto where I'm doing the exogenous ketones, intermittent fasting, and not to lose weight or trim down or anything, but the mental clarity that it gives me feels, and sometimes I just need that to reset. But now I certainly live on a low carb diet. I usually intermittent fast. I'll only drink water and coffee in the morning, black coffee, and then I'll eat lunch. And from lunch, I usually sort of just snack throughout the day, and then I'll eat a big dinner of fats, proteins, sometimes carbs like rice or
Hmm.
potatoes or something like that.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I mean, this podcast is obviously called Metflex and Chill, so metabolic flexibility is like kind of the big idea and concept that we really dive into. And I guess like so with you, you said you do incorporate like some, you're not like strict keto, but you do, have you like tested your ketones ever? I'm just curious.
No, so I when I would get into keto, you can feel it, like,
Yeah.
you absolutely can feel it. And for me, it's like I would know that I was in keto. The first couple days were always terrible. I'd have like the keto flu, and I didn't really know how to overcome that. But then I'd get into keto when like I'd be really alert and sort of like not jittery, but like just switched on. And
Hmm.
I'd wake up early, I'd work a long day. And normally when I'm falling asleep by like 9 or 10 p.m., when I first get into ketosis, it's like my head hits the pillow, I'm wide awake. Like
Hmm.
it's like that's one of those weird indicators that like, okay, I'm in keto. And the other thing too is my pee starts to smell kind of funny when there's a lot of
Yeah.
ketones in it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean the reason I ask that too is because a lot of people, they think they need to be testing their ketones all the time to like find out if they're actually in ketosis, and that's actually something that I don't really do myself. I mean, if I'm doing a specific experiment, then I'll test. But like with when I work with clients and stuff, I don't have them testing. It's really just like, and even that too, it's not like when I work with a lot of clients, most of the clients that come to me are like they come to me to get healthier, maybe mostly lose weight and recomp their body, like focus on body composition. And something I always say is like being in ketosis does not necessarily mean like fat loss. So we just have to know the goal there. But I was just curious, like if you ever did any testing or anything like that. But yeah, so I guess another question for you is like in terms of kind of like you said that you wish you knew you wish you knew then what you know now. Do you feel like with especially with football, so we know like with being in ketosis and using ketones for fuel, they can be a very protective mechanism for the brain. And there's actually a lot more research coming out with ketogenic diets in contact sports. Do you feel like, have you done any of that research, or not done any of that research, but have you heard anything about that, or like know um, like anybody who maybe is at Colgate right now and has experimented with any type of lower carb diet versus, the traditional college athletes like Gatorade and sugar and carbs like all day long? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's a great question. So our dad played college football too, and that was back in the late 80s, early 90s, and he actually deals with some post-concussive symptoms and syndrome from his playing days. And it's funny because he discovered the keto diet within the last 5 years, sort of with us, and that's been one of the few things that has helped him find clarity. So we've seen it firsthand in our family how ketones can affect people with sort of mental health or brain injury type symptoms. So but in college, it was amazing. We had every resource available to us, the best weight room, the best food, the best coaches, but nobody was talking about nutrition. Like I remember after a heavy lift, like if it was a squat day or a power clean day, like my coach would be like, now go eat a full pizza. And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll go eat a pizza.
Yeah.
That sounds great. But nobody was saying like manage your carbs or manage your fat. Nobody was talking about macros back then, at least at Colgate. And I still don't think that they're emphasizing it the way that they should be. And for me now, I'm getting to a point where like I know my body really well and I know what works and what doesn't, almost from like an elimination diet perspective. So like I'll even if I'm in keto or if I'm doing focusing on low carbs, I'll eat carbs before I do a heavy workout. Like my body needs carbs if I'm going to lift a lot of weights or if I'm going to go for a run. I just got into essential amino acids, so I've been cycling those into my diet as well, usually in the morning and then once in the afternoon or before a workout. So just tinkering with things because I mean, if you are active, if you're lifting weights,
Mm-hmm.
if you're sort of straining yourself every single day, you do need that fuel, and early on in keto or in a low fat or a low carb diet, you don't really have the energy. Like when I first got into keto, my muscles would tire out really quickly in a workout. And I got super lean, but I just wasn't getting stronger
Mm-hmm.
because my body didn't really have the building blocks.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that I mean, we talk all about that on this podcast, and that's literally the epitome of being metabolically flexible is being able to use these different fuel sources when you need them, right? So using sugar and glucose for when you have intense workouts or for recovery and things like that, and then being able to use ketones and fat for fuel when you're maybe just sitting at your desk all day or whatever it may be. So yeah, that's like literally becoming more metabolically flexible, and that's kind of what I see as the end goal, or should be the end goal for most people, especially just your average person who's looking to, get healthy, maintain, a nice body composition, perform well, things like that. So I think I mean, that's super important. I guess my other question, or another question for you, I want to dive a little bit into kind of the evolvement of super coffee, or like, so is it Kitu? So to give me the background of the name. Just tell me like what the names mean, and yeah, just
Right.
let me
Totally.
know.
So no, so Kitu Life Inc. is the name of the company, right? And it's
Okay.
a play on like this is the key to life, right? And KITU is
Oh,
just a made up word that we coined. Yeah. And
oh, I had no idea.
but not a lot of people know that. So people know us as Super Coffee. Like I say that I'm the CEO of Super Coffee. So basically Kitu is the company, Super Coffee is the brand. We have super creamers, espresso, cold brew, all kinds of things now. And for us, yeah, I mean, we wanted a name that was descriptive. Like Super Coffee is sort of intriguing. It gives people this idea of there's something more here,
Hmm.
and that was enough right now to sort of get that initial interest. Because I mean, you've been in a million grocery stores. The coffee set is really crowded, and you got to stand out. So for us, we put it in a white bottle when
Hmm.
the category is traditionally dark, and the name Super Coffee implies something different, something more. So yeah, that's where the name comes from.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, yeah, I did not know the. How do you say it? Kitu,
Kitu.
Kitu, Kitu, Kitu Life. Okay, I love it. I love it. Okay, so I guess another kind of question for you. I know you guys were on Shark Tank. How long ago was that?
2 years ago. So that episode aired in February of 2018.
Okay, can you tell us a little about your experience there or on there?
Yeah, yeah, it was cool. So, uh, what people don't realize, we were in front of the sharks for over an hour. So it was a 1 hour conversation just like this. The first 90 seconds are scripted. So like we wrote the script, we memorized it. My brother, all three of us were up there. Each of us said 30 seconds of the script. After the script is read, or like after we sort of do our initial pitch, then it just becomes a conversation. We poured samples for the sharks. They asked a bunch of questions. But for us as athletes, like we were definitely nervous, but we prepared for it as if it was like the Super Bowl. We practiced a lot leading up to it. Like we weren't going to mess up our lines. We knew our numbers cold, so we really worked hard to get ready for it. And here's a funny like behind the scenes story that I love to share. So we get out there. We were the first company to pitch on a Saturday morning, and we get out. We see the set. Like our set was like my brother's dorm room where he first started brewing Super Coffee. Check it out, and they're like, "All right, guys, 20 minutes till showtime. Go back into your dressing room, and we'll call you when the show's ready to start." So at this point, we're mic'd up. We got our makeup on. We got our shirts on. Like we're ready to go. But it felt like 20 minutes before kickoff of a game. We were so hyped. We're like pushing each other. We're like, let's go. This is gonna be sick. Here we go. And Jake, with my brother Jake, out of nowhere, he just must have been excited. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna kiss Barbara right on the lips. He's like, I'm gonna set the tone right from the beginning. And I'm like, no, why would you do that? Why would you even say that? And we were just laughing. We're just messing around. And then 5 minutes later, we get a knock on the door saying, "Boys, your microphones are on. We can hear everything that you're saying." So the sharks
Oh
heard
my God.
us. Yeah, yeah. The sharks and the producers were laughing at us, but it was a cool experience. For those who didn't see it, we didn't get a deal done with any of the sharks, but it's certainly been useful for our business.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure that was like super exciting and nerve wracking, and I don't know, like I could never do. I mean, maybe, but that's so cool and really funny story. Mike's Ron. Cool, cool. So, do you think? So, I guess that was 2 years ago now. You
Yeah.
said. So, what would I mean? Just based off of like from then to now, I know you guys have grown so much, but is there anything like specific over the last kind of 2 years that you've any like lessons that you've learned in terms because I'm obviously like I'm building my business and following and all of that and with this podcast and potentially maybe want to have a product someday and I'm just curious like do you have any like lessons that you've learned that you've really like taken away or any advice or even for people listening to this podcast who are in who are maybe entrepreneurs themselves any advice for any of us.
Yeah, it's so I think the first thing is you got to take action. So take action. I think a lot of people never even start. Everybody's got ideas. Everybody's got products or projects that they want to pursue. But most people like psych themselves out by this paralysis by analysis, right? They come up with a perfect business plan or they wait till they're ready. Like for us, you're never going to be ready. I've been running this thing for 5 years with my brothers, and I'm still not ready to be a CEO. It's like so I would say take action, get started, and you got to remember like business is really about the people and the team that you build, and our philosophy at Super Coffee is work hard and be nice to people. It's not our success so far is not it's not about the product. Like our product's great, it's different enough. It's not about the go to market strategy or the branding or the pricing structure. None of that. Like all of those things matter and they're important to run like a fundamentally sound business, but it's not going to be the difference maker that allows you to build a brand that's going to mean something to people and last. So for us, I mean, we're 85 full-time employees now. We're 150 part-time employees, and those people that they're really, I mean, they are what makes Super Coffee super. They are. We prioritize people over profit at Super Coffee quite literally. Like we spend a lot on payroll, so much so that we're not a profitable organization. And that said, keeping our teammates and our partners motivated, inspired, protected, feel like we're focused on their personal growth, right? Because if our people grow, our business grows. So I would say surround yourselves with the right people, put your time into the people, work on the front lines with them. They don't work for you by any means. I mean, if anything, we work for them. We're here to make sure that they feel safe and inspired and motivated. So the challenging thing with people and leading people is it requires a lot of time and attention. You really have to spend time and invest in them. But yeah, I would say focus on the people, not the product.
I love that. I love that. Um, Definitely great advice for sure. So I guess I'm kind of thinking as you're talking, when you first started off, like, and you had this idea of a product, right? What did you like? How did you go about like, okay, I have this product idea. Like, how do I, you know, formulate these different, flavors and things like that? Did you just like go out and find someone who was like a formulation expert or like I don't know I used to actually I worked for a year in the supplement industry but it was more like the powders and stuff like that not like ready to drink products or anything so I'm just curious how like you went about that and like how you kind of grew with that did things just kind of like fall into place or were there any like hiccups that maybe set you back or things that you had to like really learn from in that sense.
Yeah, so it's a good question, and I mean you're doing it right now in the morning when you make your smoothies, right? You
Yeah.
sort of take the ingredients that you want to put in your body, you want to make them taste good, you throw it together in a blender, and that's how we got started. Jordan knew what he wanted. Jordan's my youngest brother. He knew what he wanted in his coffee, and it was a little bit of protein, a little bit of sweetness from monk fruit, some MCT oil, some healthy fat for fuel. and 200 milligrams of caffeine from coffee. So he'd take these things and he'd tinker with it. At first it had 20 grams of protein, and then we found that 10 grams was the sweet spot. The monk fruit can be really polarizing if you add too much to it. So early on, for the first year or two, it was really just Jordan making the recipe and scaling it in like bigger batches. And then as you scale, you find these contract manufacturers, like these big factories that produce products for you, and they all have their in-house laboratories and R&D teams. So for us, like to make super coffee a million bottles at a time, it requires things like potassium phosphate and gellan gum and different emulsifiers and gels to hold it together. Those are things that we don't know about, but we basically create the initial formula, and then we bring it to the lab or the factory, and they optimize it for us.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. And so so this actually, I wrote a blog post about like what I put in my morning coffee, and obviously I had super coffee in there. And I talked about how I put L-theanine in my coffee as well. And I know that you guys have L-theanine in is it the cold brew one?
Yep.
Right? Yeah. So can you tell her? Because I get questions on this a lot because I post like I put L-theanine and I explain it. But why did you guys decide to put L-theanine in your cold brew? And then also we can talk about the pods that you put. Did you put nootropics in the pods too, or was that just? I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, yeah. So for the cold brew, there's 250 milligrams of caffeine in the cold brew. It's pretty strong, and that alone, especially on an empty stomach, like that'll get you feeling something. Like for me, cold brew kind of makes me a little jittery. Like I feel it warms up my face. It's strong. And then the L-theanine, obviously a green tea extract that sort of promotes calmness, and it works really nicely with the caffeine to ensure that there are no jitters. I mean, you probably know more technically what L-theanine does, but from my perspective, it's a nice complement to the energy that's provided in the with just in the caffeine in the cold brew. And then in the pods, same deal. We do add L-theanine to the pods for that smoothness and to
Mhm.
complement the caffeine. But our pods are loaded with vitamins. So we have vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, D, and E, all jammed into one pod, along with 200 milligrams. And it's K cups. It's all Keurig
Mhm.
compatible.
Cool, cool. Awesome. Yeah, I mean it's the synergistic effect between the L-theanine and the caffeine. I love it because sometimes I do get like the jitters, especially if I have if I put too much if I make my coffee too strong, I can get those jitters. And so the L-theanine helps kind of balance that out. And like you said, it has that calming effect. So I just want to hit on that because I always get questions like, why do you put that in your coffee? And so yeah. Cool, cool. So I guess I know I'm like grilling you with all these questions. Um, is there anything like I don't even know if you can tell me this, but do you have anything coming out in the next like soonish? Any newer products or anything you're excited about? If you can't say you don't have to, but like any ideas or anything to get people excited about?
Oh yeah, you'll hear it here first. So just last week we launched our plant-based products. We launched the coconut mocha super coffee. Have you tried that yet? Have we sent that to you?
I have not, but I saw the launch.
Okay, yeah, we'll hook you up with that. And then we have a plant-based creamer as well. It's French
Okay.
vanilla creamer. And same deal, it's got protein. Instead of whey protein, it uses pea protein,
Okay.
MCT oil, monk fruit. Really, really nice, smooth product. So that's our first plant-based extension that has protein in it. And then in August, so a couple months, we're launching our ground coffee. So we're going to
Oh,
actually
nice.
launch bags of coffee. It's organic Peruvian coffee, and same as the K cups, that's got the vitamins and antioxidants blended into the grounds.
Gotcha, gotcha. So why did you choose Peruvian coffee?
It was organic. The coffee for our ready to drink bottles comes from Colombia, and then the
Okay.
Peruvian coffee is organic. It's honestly it comes from like the Antiochian mountains, I believe. Anyways, it's grown at high altitudes. It's really good quality coffee. So it was important that it was organic, and it was important for us that it was a dark roast as well.
Cool, cool. Do you have any so all the coffee is dark roast. Do you have any ideas for like other roasts? I'm just asking selfishly because I am a light roast person. um, but yeah, I'm just curious.
No, it's funny because I just started drinking like every now and then I'll need to do like a decaf coffee, like just a caffeine detox. So I drink a really nice light roast decaf for like 7 to 10 days at a time, just to cleanse
Mhm.
myself of caffeine. But we're not going to launch a light roast, just because the decaf market is such a small market. But that's why we came out with the creamer. So if you
Mhm.
make light roast at home, or if you
Yeah.
prefer a decaf coffee, you can add our creamer to it.
Yeah, that's what I do. Every day.
That's
Cool.
awesome. You're the best.
The what besides the sweet cream, the maple pumpkin is definitely my second favorite, and then the gingerbread eggnog, which is those are the seasonal flavors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So are those available year round, or is it just during the holiday?
Um, it's usually just during the holidays, but
Okay.
last year was the first year that we did them, and we produced too much. So I think there is still some left. They don't go bad for a while, so
Yeah.
we'll have to do a discount on those.
Cool, cool. Okay, so I want to ask you another kind of personal question. So not personal, personal, but I mean we can get personal if you want.
Yeah,
Um,
let it rip.
So I'm just curious about like your kind of daily exercise routine because I know like I obviously follow you on Instagram and I see sometimes they're posting workouts at Equinox and well not obviously not recently but like just kind of tell us about like what your exercise routine is like late well I guess not lately but in general.
Totally. So I like to move every day, and to me that means different levels of things. I think coming out of college, I put a lot of pressure on myself to work out in a regimented structure. You know, as a college football player, you lift weights for 90 minutes a day, and you have your reps, your sets, your weights, all these things pretty much mapped out for you on a weekly basis. And for me that you quickly lose 90 minutes. You know, today as a CEO of a growing startup, like I barely have 20 minutes to myself sometimes. So now my workouts are designed to make the most out of the little bit of time that I have. So I'm big into high intensity interval training. You know, if I can get 20 minutes of like a Tabata, 45 seconds on, 15 seconds off, that type of thing, I'll do it. I have a pull up bar going to my bathroom, and I drink a lot of water and coffee every day. So like every time I go to the bathroom, I'll just rip 10 pull-ups, you know, so like throughout the course of a day, I'll do 100 pull-ups or whatever. But in the mornings, typically, so like I'll wake up early, and now in quarantine, we have like a little outdoor space here. And we have light dumbbells, so I'll do some push exercises with dumbbells. I'll do some lunges and stuff. We have a jump rope. I jump rope every morning. I'm a believer that like I don't know if there's any science to this, but like it like shakes me up. You know, it literally wakes me up. It gets things moving. So
I
jump
like
rope
that.
every morning. Yeah, and then I'll always try and do some core, whether it's just sit ups or push ups or whatever. And usually it's really light. You know, I feel good. I challenge myself a little bit, but it's only 15, 20 minutes. You know, better than nothing. And then on the weekends, I'll do like something sick, like sprints until I throw up, or like some heavy weights, just something to stay fresh and really challenge myself, get out of the comfort zone a little bit.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I it's funny you talk about the pull-up bar because I used to have one. I convinced my parents to let me get one because you're in Manhattan. So if the listeners don't know, you're in Manhattan. I grew up in Manhattan in an apartment too, and I convinced my dad to let me get a pull-up bar, and we actually got rid of it. And he told me it's funny. He told me last week he was like, "I wish we still had that pull-up bar because he's obviously in quarantine and he's like itching to do stuff." But it's just funny that you brought that up. I do have a question about quarantine though. So with this last like however many months it's been that we've been in this craziness, has it kind of changed anything for the company or like your perspective of things within like being the CEO of a business and like how you've kind of dealt with that?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's certainly affected us. You know, it's definitely not business as usual. We're lucky to be in a protected industry in terms of like people need to go to grocery stores. Our product is sold in grocery stores, so we're able to work with our distributors. And our sales were down 30% in April. They were down 30% in May. We're halfway through June, and it's starting to pick back up again, which is nice. But as I said earlier, like our team is our barrier to entry. And one thing that I'm very proud of is we didn't furlough one employee. We didn't lay anybody off. So we were able to keep the team together sort of at the expense of spending more than we should have. But I think I fundamentally believe in if we treat our team right, if we take care of the team, like I said, they're going to take care of the business.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's awesome. So, how about you, like personally, with being in? I know obviously Manhattan is one of the toughest places to be. With all this going on, my parents are they're over it. They're like, get me out of here. How has it been for you? Are you kind of over it or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely missing like normal things that we would do during the summer. I want to go to a
Yeah.
Yankee game. I want to go to the beach. I want to be with my parents and my family. I want to go out to a restaurant. Obviously, we all want those things. But New York is honestly kind of peaceful. There's not a lot of traffic right now. There's not a lot of crowds on the streets. I think people are getting antsy, especially with the protests. You're starting to see groups
Hmm.
congregate more and more. But personally, yeah, I think just the same way everybody else is feeling, I'm ready for it to be over. But you sort of adapt and overcome the obstacles like this and find new things to do. I caught up on reading. I've been getting a lot of sleep every night, which is something that I didn't usually take advantage of. Quarantine's cool because I think before this, we always felt that we needed to be on the go, super busy, meetings, phone calls, planes and trains and everything else in between. And now it's like, oh shit, I could run the business or we can do our jobs without having to do all of that crazy stuff. So it's a nice reset for us.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like it definitely has changed so many, like it changes your perspective of just so many different things. So there's negatives. I mean, I always say like look at the obviously look try to look at the positive of what you can. It's hard, especially with all this that's going on in 2020. Everybody's like, I just want 2020 to be over. But yeah, I mean, just looking at the positive side of things is just super important. Okay, so I have like a few ending questions for you.
All
So
right.
the first one is there anything that you have changed your mind about in the last year and why?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Um, I think this is a cop out answer, uh, but I think I'm gonna get political here. I'm gonna say Black Lives Matter. And as a white male, it was something that uh, like I have a ton of black friends, and I grew up in a sort of an inner city. Like most of our friends were black, all of our teammates were black playing sports. Like, and I like our family's not racist, nothing, none of those things. And this whole idea of like, oh, I have black friends, I'm not racist, like that's not enough. And it really took this movement to see that like being an ally and having black friends uh, isn't the same as being anti-racist, and speaking up for them and using your platform to support your black friends and just black people in general. So that's something that like I've never been a racist. I always know that I wasn't, but now I know that just simply being an ally is not enough, and I'm sort of committed to using my platform to fight for black rights.
I love that. I love that. I'm kind of in the same boat there. I've been struggling with how to use my platform for that. Like I'm not I don't know. I've been struggling with it to be I want to be like as supportive and do something that actually matters, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do that rather than just like posting about it in my story, but like actually doing something, learning more about it, or contributing to something. So that's actually something that I'm trying to do, and I'm the same way. Like I exactly what you said, like all of my best friends growing up were black, so I was like, I'm not racist, like my best friends are black, like literally. And but then exactly what you said, like that's not enough, right? Like you have to kind of, it's a real thing, like this is a real thing that's going on. And I think it's just, I don't know, being educated and doing exactly what you said, I think is super important. So I like it. I like it.
Yeah, and just one thing to add on there too is like, I mean, we didn't come from money. Our mom used to work at the YMCA. Our dad was a construction worker, but my brothers and I are sort of working our way. Like we're building a business really from the ground up, and mainly just through hard work. And I used to have this mentality of like, oh, anybody can work hard to achieve their goals, right? Like it's not easy. You just got to do it. And the people who choose not to do it just aren't. They're either lazy or they don't want to work hard. That type of thing. And what I'm realizing is black people don't have that same opportunity, right? Like even if they work, they can't. A lot of black people can't work their way out of the situations that they were born into and some of the systemic pressure. So that's something that it really took this entire movement for me to see. But yeah, that's just an add on to the whole Black Lives Matters thing.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. Well said. Well said. Okay, so the next question is there anything that you've been implementing like within your own routine lately, like within the last month or so that you've noticed benefits from, whether that be with your nutrition, exercise, mindset, anything like that?
Yeah, so for me, it's been the essential aminos that I mentioned earlier,
Okay.
and I got Ben Greenfield's new book, Boundless,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about them in there. And unlike BCAAs, the EAAs have all nine essential aminos in them. And for me, Ben said something really interesting. He was like, for people who work a lot, especially behind a computer, by like 4 or 5 p.m., you're starting to get burned out. You still got a couple hours of work left. That's really when you reach for that fourth or fifth cup of coffee, or you're craving something sweet. And he's like, your brain is exerting as much energy, or I think burning as many calories as if you were to run a marathon or a triathlon, like just sitting, sort of physically standing or sitting there, just doing work. And he was like, a cup of coffee is not what you like. If you're getting tired in a marathon, you're going to have goo, or you're going to have aminos, or you're going to have ketones, like you're going to have some type of fuel. And that's when it really clicked for me, is like, holy shit, I'm burning my brain out. I'm not giving it the fuel that it needs throughout the day. Like if I was working out, I absolutely would. I do my carbs, I do my honey, I do whatever I need to get through it. So I started taking the essential aminos once in the morning, and then also at that like 3 or 4 p.m. lull, and it's really changed my productivity. It's changed my energy levels. It's really been a noticeable effect for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So the CEO of Super Coffee is saying not to have coffee for your afternoon pick me up. No.
That's right. Oh man, maybe we add the essential aminos to our coffee.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm just kidding. But I mean that shows that it's real, you're real, right? Like you're just sharing like what legit works and works for you, and I think that's super super cool. So yeah, that's Boundless is a really good book. Ben is like awesome. He's definitely out there and a really cool guy, and he's super super intelligent. Do you use his? Because I know he has like his supplement line, his EAs. Do you use his or someone else's?
Yeah, his is called KION, so I just
Mm-hmm.
order those from right from Amazon.
Cool, cool, awesome. All right, last question for you. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
One superpower. Ooh, that's so tough. I mean, I think the easy answer is to fly. Uh, I think for me, it's to read other people's minds. I'm always like trying. I always have assumptions about like what he or she is thinking, what she wants, what he wants, and I psych myself out rather than sort of seeing the situation for what it is. So if I could read people's minds, it'd be a blessing. Be the best superpower.
That's true. I haven't gotten that one yet. I usually ask this question and no one said that, and that's a really good one. I'm gonna go with that one next time someone asks me that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming on and sharing, this your story, the story of Super Coffee. I mean, I love your product. Like I said, I use it every morning. So yeah, Supergirl, do you want to tell our listeners, where they can maybe find you or, where they can find Super Coffee?
Yeah. So on Instagram, we're just at Drink Super Coffee. Our website is drinksupercoffee.com. Check us out. I believe we're doing a discount, or not a discount, a giveaway. We got a
Hmm.
giveaway with Rachel and Netflix and Chill. So let's do it. I mean, let's get some
Yeah.
of your listeners hooked up with some Super Coffee.
Yeah, we'll do a giveaway. I'll announce that in the intro when I re-record it so we can chat about that. That's something that I wanted to chat about and I totally forgot. But yes, we'll do a giveaway. So if you are listening, well, you probably heard it already because I probably said it in the intro. But anyway, yeah. So drink Super Coffee on Instagram and your website, and then you're in. You said you're in Target and right. You're in Target and Sprouts and all those places, right? Costco too.
Yep.
You guys are in Costco.
Costco. That's right. Costco,
Cool.
CVS, and then a lot of regional grocery chains.
Cool. Cool. Awesome. Well, definitely, if you're listening, check out Super Coffee if you haven't already. Creamers, espressos, the little espressos, those are so good. And yeah, look out for more products coming. Right.
That's right. The best is yet to come. We like to say we're just getting started.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate your time. And I will talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel.
Bye.